and gentlemen, friends, family, and everybody in between, you're listening / watching the latest episode of the FillGood podcast. I am your good co-host, Mike Osgood, and with me, as always, is...
your Phil co-host, Byron Filler.
And we are here to talk to our guest about everything that makes them feel good and the good they put out in the world. Byron, how the hell are you?
I'm doing okay. I don't know. It's been one of those weeks for me. Like, I've been anxious this week. I know. Yeah. I feel like... first off, let's acknowledge there's got it, like... at least something that is making me feel a little bit better, that I'm not just going crazy, because I feel like everybody is experiencing a little bit of it this week. I feel like it's the weather change that's happening up here, because we've been like, that's at least a huge contribution to me, and like for me and my anxiety, where it's like it'll be 30 degrees in the morning and suddenly today it's like 65. And
64 in Vancouver.
Fuck global climate change. Okay,
it's so good though.
No, it sucks, because that's what ends up, and then when it evens out, I even out. So that usually helps. But no, this week has been like a little hard to stay focused, and I had an incident yesterday where we found a abscess on Cooper's face, and we got worried. We took him to the vet to make sure that he's doing okay. He is doing okay. We just good. It was one of those things where it was like he was missing some fur on his face, and you could clearly see the wound, and we wanted to make sure there wasn't like something growing from the inside. And so luckily he's doing okay, but he has to wear the cone of shame right now, because he keeps trying to like get the ointment that we keep putting on his face off, and it just like it breaks my heart to see him. Like, there's nothing more depressing than watching your pet with a cone of shame like just not be themselves.
That is so true.
It's just adds to the stress and anxiety that I'm already feeling, and just trying to focus. But like, at least for me, I'm trying to like keep pushing forward. One of the things, Mike, you caught me doing this before we jumped on. I tried doing a little bit of mirror work before we jumped into this, I wasn't feeling like as good as about myself today. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and psych myself out a little bit, and it's helping me right now. Psych myself up.
Boost it. Yeah, yes. You're not psyching yourself out. You're psyching yourself up.
Exactly. I don't know. Sometimes you just need a shock to the system. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
No, I feel you. I've been, like, just to jump into me, because that's what I do. I've been super crazy busy with a variety of things in life and in work and everything in between. And one of the things that I've been finding myself doing as of late is just like hopping into the bathroom and doing like cold water, because it does do just that little shock to the system. Because if you're watching on YouTube, which you should go to YouTube and find us, the FillGood podcast, and make sure you like and subscribe, so you can see all the content that we do and see our beautiful faces. Wink, wink. We love you.
We do.
But like, whenever I'm having just a lot of stuff going on, like one thing that I'm trying to do is go in, take some cold water, and splash it on your face. And it's like proven that it helps kind of reset some stuff, because it's a shock to the system.
I should try that, because I just easily overheat anyways. And I feel like just a moment of like cold water is probably a good thing.
Yeah. There's also this new trend that's going around that I don't know if you've seen it on TikTok and anxiety talk, get yourself a bowl of ice water and just stick your face in it for like 5 seconds or so. Okay. And it's supposed to kind of help and do that reset. And try it out. Let us know. Maybe in the next episode we can give stats check. I'll do it too. Why not?
I will definitely try it. At least to me, it sounds interesting, because there must be something like the constriction of like blood flow in your face that like
something.
puts shit in perspective.
It does. Like for me, I need that kind of shock because as everybody can see here, I'm constantly moving. I'm constantly wiggling. This is my normal state. So
You're
need
just
something.
You're just in a constant state of dance.
That is true. It's a constant state of dance. But that is me in a nutshell, and I'm sorry for everybody that knows me and has to experience that because I'm not.
I'm not sorry. I admittedly enable you though, so
you do. But enough of us. I think the people want to talk about Dasha Glozman.
Yes, she was so cool to chat with.
She's a freaking awesome person. And just so everybody knows, she is a health coach. She will sit there and help you figure out the ways for you to overachieve your obstacles and everything there. But I don't want to tell her whole story. We're going to let her tell it. And Byron, should we take it away? And
let's take it away.
Everyone in between, thank you so much for joining us for another exciting interview. Today, we have ourselves the wonderfully awesome, amazing, fantastically talented, super knowledgeable person extraordinaire, Dasha Glozman. Dasha, hello. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you. Dasha, how are you today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited to be talking with you guys. And I love everything about what you guys stand for and the podcast that you guys have. This FillGood. I mean, there's nothing better than that. So I'm all here for it.
Beautiful. Thank you for buttering us up. We're here to butter you up today. We're going to talk all about you and all the goodness that is you. But before...
I was about to say episode over. That's
it. Yeah, that's the entire thing.
Yeah.
Done. But before we talk about all the good that is Dasha Glozman, we must address the bad. And first, we are going to start off our day with the moment of bad, where we spend about 60 seconds each-ish to talk about something that's been annoying us this week, because you can't talk about the good without the bad. So, Byron, you have one already. I need to think for a second. I did not do my homework. Go ahead.
I was having a hard time trying to think of something this week, but you know what? I'm just going to go with the consistent problem that we keep having here on the podcast, and some of the things that we're trying to do, like as well as a part of the podcast, is do some stream some games, try to, do some chatting, have some of our former guests come on, do a little bit of a variety thing that we can do outside of here, so you have more of us. But our equipment keeps crashing, and I like all the time. We had a day where every problem that we've ever had just happened all at once and pissed me right the fuck off. And I don't want to bring that into streams. I don't want to bring that here. I want to take all that negativity from technology, and I'm just gonna make it big gone, because it's big gone. We're gonna take it. We're eventually gonna get it right, but for now, I just
beautiful. That's a great expression of anger. I
don't have words anymore.
It's okay. We can speak in sounds. We can revert back to cavemen times. Yes.
I
Perfect.
feel like I was very succinct there.
You were. I totally understood exactly what you said. All right. My moment of bad, I'm going to say, is myself. Oh. Surprisingly. Wow. This is a different one. I've been having... I'm going to say myself / weather. As I have recently moved up to the Pacific Northwest, I've been finding myself having a lot less energy. I'm going to say that, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the clouds and stuff, I came from San Francisco, and I did live in like the foggiest side of town, so there wasn't too much sun, but I did definitely get much more sun when I was there. And I'm missing it. I'm missing that. I love the space, I love the nature, I love everything else. I do miss a little bit of sun. But I need to find ways to motivate myself to get up and get out and move around a little bit more, just so I can find more of those endorphins elsewhere. So I'm going to take the, what do they call it? The SADs.
I was going to say your sunny disposition.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to reclaim my sunny disposition.
Yes.
And I'm gonna make that become. So that'll be my thing. Yes. But Dasha, what's been bothering you lately?
I'm like laughing at what you're saying, Mike, because I was going to say the weather, but then I really took a step back and was like, hold on, I live in San Diego, so I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to talk about like the one day of rain that's coming tomorrow.
Dasha.
So
that's a lot. That's a lot for a San Diegan. Is it San Diegan?
San Diegans. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, I was going to say that, but I won't. Okay, so street parking is government parking, right? Like anybody can park on the street.
Yeah.
And we have a new neighbor that moved in who decided on like a really long street to like draw a line and mark it as their parking spot that they have to have. And so when I parked my car there, I got a really nasty note from them saying that do not park here, park in your own area. And I live in a cul-de-sac, and so there's like nowhere to park.
Rude.
Right. And I just like, I saw this note and I'm sitting there and laughing at it going, you know what? I just feel bad for whatever they're going through. And I just took it and threw it away. And I'm not going to do anything about it. And all of that negativity, all of those nasty words are not here.
Take those nasty words and your privileged parking and make it be gone.
Be gone.
Exactly.
Be gone. That's enough of the bads. That's enough of
bads.
It. We're gonna let those little things like stay in the past. And now, Dasha, I'd like to know more about you. Like pretty much all good superheroes, every good superhero has a good origin story. I would love to know what makes you, Dasha Glozman, you today.
So my name is Dasha. I live in San Diego, and just this year I started my own business. I am a health coach, and I work with people in the corporate space, busy professionals who are trying to find more balance in their life. And a big part of what I do is because of the work that I came from. And so I'm so passionate about health and wellness as a whole, extremely in a holistic way. I'm also a certified yoga instructor. And so I bring a lot of my teachings, a lot of my knowledge, and really my values around what I believe to be a healing process and the spirituality into my practice with all of my clients. And so I all day live and breathe health and wellness because I think it is so valuable for us to be continuously prioritizing not only ourselves, but just our environment that we're in, because we all want to be here for a long time and a good time. So
Yes.
Okay. I was going to ask, since this was a career change for you, was it a turning point that inspired you to say, this is what I need to do?
Yeah. So before I was a health coach and made this move, I worked in corporate for years after obviously graduating college. Like I went down the very straightforward path of, I knew like I was going to graduate, get a job, climb the corporate ladder, continue to get promotions. And throughout this whole process, and even like before I graduated college, I suffered a lot from really deep, like chronic stress, the kind where like my hands were constantly sweating. I couldn't even get in front of like a group of 4 or 5 people to talk. Like I would cripple and shrivel up, and like I'd get such bad brain fog and like blackout. And this type of stress started to bleed into everything else that I was doing, from, my digestive system was extremely off. I had really horrible acne. I was bleeding into my relationships, my friendships, my like romantic relationships, career as well. It all started to go downhill, especially when I started after college, got into the corporate world, and it's definitely even more stress, different level of stress than college was. And all of this started piling. And I started realizing that, oh my God, like I really feel like I'm hitting this place of rock bottom. And so I really took matters into my own hands of thinking, okay, well, what do I do in this situation? Like, how do I really get out of this? And like, luckily, I have a really insane amount of discipline. And so like I just pushed myself and started researching and doing all these different things for my own health, and with trial and error, like found the secret formula for me that worked, that pulled me into a state of more alignment and balance. And that feeling that I got when I started noticing a shift in my own confidence levels, a shift in my self-esteem, my like love and compassion for myself, and even like my relationships and ultimately career, where I started excelling and doing things so much differently than I was previously, just because of the prioritization and the focus on my health and daily habits and everything that I was trying to do to better myself. That shift that I saw, I thought, oh my God, like I am able to do this for myself. And I saw a massive shift in the way that I was living my life, the purpose in my life that I all of a sudden saw very clearly. That's what I wanted to then help others do too. And
Nice.
ultimately, like, I felt like, okay, if I got myself to this place, I see the physical changes, but I also see how this is impacting the rest of my life. And people literally started telling me that I was glowing in a way that I had never been told before, ever in my life.
Yeah.
Like I had never heard that. So hearing those types of comments, I go, what?
So this is working for you. You're finding that inner working and those inner strategies that make you focus, eat better, be healthier, and all that kind of stuff. How does that lead you to becoming the health coach that you are today?
When I saw that happening in my own life and see that and really seeing that shift, I combined my true like passion for my own like case study work with also my passion for really helping other people. Put the two and two together and realize that health coaching was really the like that is my path and the path that I'm really supposed to be on. And when I learned that, when I was in my corporate job, I started studying. I did a certification for health coaching and started really building the foundations for my business to then be able to take it on full time, because I realized that this is something I want to do and help other people achieve, because sometimes all it takes is a little bit of support, a little bit of accountability, and people can get to this place too. And ultimately, like we truly can't show up for other people in our lives. We can't show up for our career, our jobs, until we show up for ourselves, until we start giving back to ourselves. And so many people, especially in the corporate world, who are like constantly working or have so many different priorities, you're nodding your head, you're like, yeah, with so many different priorities, a lot of the times they'll choose to prioritize everything in their external world instead of prioritizing themselves, because so many people think that's the immediate answer, when like if you just take a step back and really prioritize you, everything else will come so much more easily, because you're in a
Yeah.
state of balance, you're in a state of clarity and awareness to then be able to take on new challenges, adversity, and stress with ease.
Yes. Thank you. It takes a strong moment to really kind of figure out that inner calling, and also to see all the good that you can give people. How can you tell us a little bit about kind of that inciting incident, or that moment that made you see that you can give this to people?
So during COVID, I was starting to teach yoga on Zoom. And I started doing it for the company I was at. And then it became this greater, wider project where, like, every week people would be coming to this Zoom class because they wanted yoga, they wanted peace, they wanted calm in their life, especially during an extremely busy time, or busy, not busy, an extremely chaotic and stressful time. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing yoga, that's when it all clicked for me, because I was doing the certification for health coaching. I was still a little unclear, going, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it, but I want to continue my own education, learning in the health and wellness space. And when I was doing these yoga classes, when I had people at the end or after reach out to me and say, you know what, this one thing that you said during our class, it clicked. And now I every single time after, I've done it this way and it has changed my practice. Or like those types of little comments where people will say like your one thing that you said or the way that you taught this really changed the way I practice. That for me became a moment of clarity where I said, I am getting so much energy from helping other people and from being able to bring and shed any type of light into somebody else's life, because at the end of the day, like, we all deserve to feel good in every shape and form, and it's not
Yes.
fair that, like, a lot of the time stress, anxiety gets in the way of it. Like, it's just not fair. And sometimes all it takes is another person being by your side to tell you things a different way than you hear it in your own mind, and to teach things to you in a way that's not chaotic and confusing, like, everything in social media can be around health and wellness. I mean, look how much content there is out there. Like, it's
True.
Oh
very
yeah.
confusing to so many people.
It is.
It's
And
overwhelming how much information, how much content, how many different ideas, and even if it is you're in the space of people who think the same things as you do, it's like, well, who's, not that you're consciously trying to do this, but it is a question of like, whose opinion do I value more? And that can be very hard when it's like so many different people are saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have people who are saying the same thing and hiding, like snakes in the grass, trying to convert you over to something else. It's too much.
It is.
Yeah.
yeah,
It is too much. I was going to say, so many of my clients come to me with that exact sentiment of, I just don't know where to turn my head. There's so much information. It's so confusing. And that's why so much of my own program and what I teach is going back to the basics without complicating it. It's the simplest things that you can do on a day-to-day basis. Like, forget about the supplements, all the powders, green juices out there, all those health trends. Like, none of it works, because, like, short term, but, like, at the end of the day, like, all of it's a band-aid solution. And so how do you really create sustainable change? How do you really, like, create that feel good feeling inside? It's by getting back to the basics. And that's where it gets confusing online, because so many other people will tell you, no, buy my supplement, do this instead.
They're trying to sell control when it's, you can't really package that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you have to figure out how to claim for yourself. What is your starting point then when you're talking with people and your process to get them to the same eureka moment that you had, where all of this energy and all of this positivity came to you and it kind of snapped you into this place going, oh, okay, this is the direction I should go in?
That's a great question, because the way that I structure my program, my coaching experiences with clients, but also what I believe to be the ultimate way to reach this state of balance is, first and foremost, it's working on your mindset. It's working on that mental health space where you are pushing past limiting beliefs that come up, a lot of the fears that come up that are constantly stopping you and holding you back from doing what you want to be doing in the first place, from actually achieving those habits that you've been talking about for years in the first place. And so it has to come from that mindset, that working on, like, your purpose, your sole purpose in life, and understanding what it is that you really want. Once you have that, like, the physical habits, those come after you're in a good headspace. Because if you're not in a good headspace, if you're living in negative thought patterns, if you're living in limiting beliefs that constantly just, like, populate your mind and take over, you're never going to be able to long term sustain any type of health goal that you really want to achieve. You might be able to short
Yeah.
term, sure,
yeah,
anyone can, you can push through it, but realistically, that's not sustainable.
yeah. And kind of with that too, what are some like standard kind of bad habits that you see some of your clients have kind of at the beginning that maybe our listeners might have as well that they don't realize?
So it depends. So like with mental versus physical, because I, as a holistic coach, I focus on mind, body, and spirit. Spirit's not a culty thing. It's literally like your soul purpose, just to
Yeah.
clarify for everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with it's very different for everyone. I hear so many of that negative self-talk that gets in the way, that's constantly showing up. On a physical level, one of the very first things, this is just like a thing that I hear all the time, is a lot of people get really bad stress and anxiety in the mornings. I help, a big part of my program is learning how to build stress resilience in every aspect of your life. And that comes with like management tools, but that also comes with just building a wall so you are not broken down every time by every stressor. And so that being said, like a lot of people experience stress and anxiety in the morning. So one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is people will drink coffee before they have breakfast. And it seems so basic and so like
Huh.
you're just like, wait, what? But the idea is that in the morning, your cortisol levels are at their highest. Your
Okay.
cortisol is your stress hormone. And when your stress hormones are through the roof already, and then you're having caffeine, you're triggering it even more. And so your stress is at an all-time high. And especially for people who don't eat in the morning, they're actually really just messing with their hormones even more. And so eating a balanced meal, eating breakfast before you actually have caffeine, like protein, carb, fat, helps control and balance your hormones and help keep you in a stable mood and a stable energy throughout the rest of the day. And I literally, like, the first thing before we even jump into things with clients, we'll go over this. And then as soon as they start this for like a week, they're like, oh my God, I have so much energy. And I have like it's just so much more consistent throughout the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
I'm like, so simple. It's like,
Yeah,
but
Yeah,
no, and
it makes
so many
sense.
people don't think of it.
It makes sense. Not speaking from personal experience or anything, but yeah, that makes sense.
You're like, yep.
Something to kind of like just break it down even more simply, because it kind of makes sense. I mean, it does make sense that you wake up in the morning and you're hungry. You haven't had anything in your body since the night before. And if you choose food before coffee, you're giving your gut something to break down before you start like putting coffee, a stimulant, into your system. Whereas the other way around, like, you are stimulated before you're breaking down those calories. From a physiological and mental standpoint, it's like so stupidly simple, but it makes perfect sense that, oh yeah, I'd be stressed if I just didn't at least have a bowl of cereal or something, or just like a granola, anything.
Well, so this is getting into like really nitty gritty, but you always want to make
Let's do
sure
it.
it's a balanced meal because
Of
ultimately
course.
you're trying to balance your hormones and bring your blood sugar levels back to normal. And so
Hmm.
if you're just eating a bowl of cereal, like that's a lot of times just sugar, depending on
Right.
what kind of cereal it is. So that could also harm you
It's a
too.
bad
So,
example, but I
but I know what you mean.
know what you're
Yeah,
saying. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Dasha, what's your favorite breakfast?
Oh my gosh, I have it almost every morning. It's
What's your
like,
okay? Two questions. What's your favorite breakfast, and what's your favorite guilty pleasure breakfast?
oh, you know what? They're kind of the same. I'm really boring like that, but it's really this because it's so good.
Okay.
It's like it's toast. Well, it's an avocado toast, and I do it with hemp seeds. If I have like arugula, I'll put arugula on it, and then tomato, and then a fried egg on top with like everything bagel seasoning. It is
That
to die
sounds
for, and
great.
that's why I have it every single morning almost. And it's
So
great.
like suddenly I'm very hungry.
But that's
Oh
I'm
man.
glad that you're saying that, because it kind of I hope that we're demonstrating here how simple it is to be able to choose something healthy. It is as healthy as avocado toast. Like, it's a simple choice.
It is. And that's really something that I hone in on with all my clients. The idea that it can be extremely overwhelming for someone who maybe doesn't eat super healthy or doesn't really know what that entails and is coming at it from that standpoint and goes, where do I even begin? But
Yeah.
it's really taking like the simplest ingredients you have and just combining things and seeing what you can make out of it. And the idea is when you're talking about like balanced meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's the idea that you want a protein, a carb, a fat, and ultimately a fiber in your meal. And so instead of working backwards and being like, okay, what food should I have today? It's thinking, okay, how can I actually get in a protein, a carb, a fat, and a fiber into my meal? And then you start
Mm-hmm.
piecing the pieces together into this meal that you have, and it becomes so much easier when you break it down. It's like a Chipotle style when you think about it that way. It's like
True.
picking from each category. So it's really breaking it down to like super simple concepts like that, because it's not that hard, and it can be really good. And you can elevate an avocado toast any day of the week.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think I don't ever eat just like a toast with avocado on it. That's not a complete meal.
I'm thinking about the last time I had avocado toast and everything that I had on it. And
I mean, you can
n-
really go in. There's
you
like a
can.
million different combinations, and that's the
I
beauty of
mean,
it.
I
Yeah.
do love me like a BLTA, you know, like bacon,
Mm,
lettuce, tomato, avocado on like some good bread and stuff like that. I feel like that's the last. No,
mm,
actually, the last thing I had with avocado last night was that chicken. That was good.
Ooh, yeah, that
mm.
that sauce that Alexia made was
Hmm.
really good.
It was really good. It was really good. But enough about food.
Yum.
I want to learn a little bit more about the spirituality part of your
Mhm.
practice, because with, you know, a little bit of wellness culture out there, like spirituality is made into more of this kind of culty esque speak, and you know it comes into this mentality of sort of like toxic happiness and whatever that may
Yeah.
be. What are some general tips and tricks, and how can you best define your spirit and your purpose?
Spirituality at the end of the day comes down to yourself and knowing yourself on like a very deep um personal level. And that's all it is. A lot of people think it's like this foo-foo concept of, talking about the gods and this God, and then trying to like create this source for yourself. The source is you at the end of the day. And that's really how I like to think about spirituality, because you're building a deeper rooted, more intimate relationship with yourself. When you do this, when you really at the core start to realize that you as a human being like are existent in this bigger world, every other issue becomes so much more like simplified. It becomes um less like severe in a lot of cases when we like amplify bad situations in our head. When you think about it as like you are the source of your own happiness, you are the source of your own good. And that comes from your inner knowing. That comes from doing deep inner work. And like every answer that you have, every question that you have, every answer that you can really create comes from you. And so it's digging into yourself, it's doing that inner work, and it's continuously finding on a soul level what makes you happy. What is it that really lights up your intuition? Because your intuition, you have all the answers at the end of the day. You have all the answers. There's no reason for us to be stressed, to be in a state of doubt or fear, because it's that inner knowing. And how to really get there is by doing that inner work, coming with building that self relationship with practices like meditation, practices like breath work, even spending time with yourself, learning a little bit more about you, journaling, and even doing like stream of conscious journaling or gratitude journaling, those types of practices, mirror work, for example, where you stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself to really build that confidence, self love, self compassion. That is a spiritual level, because it's really just defining and digging into who you are. That's it. And
I've never heard of
when
mirror work before, and
oh,
it
it's my
explains a
favorite.
lot about myself.
What is mirror work? Like,
So mirror work, the way that I teach it is I do not, there's no formula to it. The idea is
okay.
exactly as it sounds. You get in front of a mirror and you look yourself in the eyes, and it's very intimate. A lot of people, when you first start it, it can be really weird and very uncomfortable, because how often are you truly confronted with yourself throughout the day? You're constantly exerting your energy out into the world, into other people, into other things that you're doing, even objects, right? Like you're constantly shooting out energy instead of bringing it back on yourself. So when you're looking in a
Right.
mirror, it's like your best friend. It's that person that you can talk to. And a lot of the times with negative self-talk that a lot of people have, how many times would, like, think about the negative things that you can tell yourself. How many times would you ever say that to somebody else in your life or your best friend who's going through a
Right.
tough time? Would you like shoot them down with the words that you tell yourself? Probably not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even fathom like I wouldn't ever even think of it. But we do it to ourselves for some reason. So the idea is you get in front of a mirror, like 1 foot away. I like to do 1 foot, and I recommend 1 foot. You can do 2 feet away, but the idea is you want to get as intimate as possible. You look yourself in the eye and you first start just talking to yourself as if it's your friend. And then you can say words of positive affirmation or positive language as if it's to your friend, but it's you. And as you say these words out loud, as you continue to incite this like positive energy, positive language, your brain doesn't understand the difference between negative words and positive words. It just computes and takes in what you're saying. So just in the same way that we tell ourselves those negative things and our body starts to take that and work with what we have, we can also reprogram our minds to say the positive. So when we reprogram,
Got it.
it's constantly feeding out the positivity. And as you do this, you can do it like for 1 minute at a time, 2 minutes at a time, once a day, twice a day, however much you want. And at a certain point, it can even be as simple as, you're in front of a mirror washing your hands after the bathroom, you look at yourself and you're just like, you're awesome. I do that all the time. Like before I hop on a calls, like meetings, presentations, like I'll just get in front of the mirror and be like, you've got this. Like you're a badass. And
Right.
that's
See,
it.
I will confess that I kind of do that as well. I'm an only child, so like I didn't grow up with like siblings or anything like that. I had some cousins that were basically ish brothers, but like most of the time, like I was just kind of by myself, and I kind of found myself doing a little bit of that as life was going on. And then I had my cousins kind of confront me one day of like, when you were younger and you'd like look at yourself in the mirror and you'd just be like, yeah. And they would always make fun of me of it. And then I was just thinking about it while you were talking about that. I was like, man, no, I was just pumping myself up. I look good. And,
It is
it's
pumping
needed.
yourself up.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
you're your
totally
biggest
is.
cheerleader. You're your biggest cheerleader at the end of the day. And that's what we have to lead with, because that's going to be the ultimate like transition point, the most transformative thing that you can truly realize. Because once you are your biggest
Yeah.
cheerleader, you can pump yourself up, you can say the positive language, you're capable of doing so much more than if you're speaking with negativity.
I will say personally, it feels so very affirming to hear you talk about this, because it's like this is something I at least like, so background, like I have autism, and one of the things I had a challenge with when I was a kid was eye contact. So this is what I did when I was a kid. I'd stare at
Yeah.
myself in the mirror and talk to myself, because like what I couldn't go to anyone else to be like, well, how do I get better at eye contact? No one could figure that out. So that was what I did for myself. And at least the connections that I think you're helping me make here is the difference between adulthood and childhood. And especially because like you're working with very ambitious people and a lot of people in the corporate space. Like how is it that we get to this point in our lives and we don't know these simple things or these simple routines? And why do we not give ourselves access and permission to do those things, even if we do know about them?
That is the $1,000,000 question. Because
I want to give you $1 million for that question. That was good.
it really is. And you bring up a great point, because as you adult, you're kind of just expected to know these things. You're expected to know how to heal yourself. You're expected to know how to get over any type of adversity
Right.
you personally feel. And we're not taught that like very explicitly in school, or in college, or as you progress on. And so it becomes this thing where you have to take it into your own hands to learn this type of information, to really be able to absorb it, understand what works for you, what doesn't. The problem is that as we get older, we don't have time for this all the time. You know, there's so many other
Yeah.
priorities and obligations in our lives and people and jobs. And that's when we start forgetting about ourselves. That's when we start just thinking about everything else that we have to do and we become our last priority. And so this isn't even top of mind. This isn't even stuff that a lot of people think about. But then when I tell clients to do this, when they work on these things consistently, they come back and they're like, oh my God, Dasha, like I'm seeing massive shifts in my confidence levels, my energy. Like I feel really, really good. And they're like, this is working. And I would have never thought. And I'm like, these are the free tools that you have at your exposure all day long. Like we have
Hmm.
to use them.
What is one of those magic things that you can tell someone who is sort of like a pleaser of trying to please a little bit of everybody to come and focus on themselves? Like, I asked
I
this
wish
for a
there was a
friend.
magic
Yeah.
button.
No.
Listen, like there's for people who are in a position where they're more likely to be people pleasers, right? They're the ones who just want to make everybody else happy. And believe it or not, like a lot of the times those are my clients because those are the people who prioritize everything but themselves because they would rather make other people happy than themselves. And so one thing that I really emphasize is helping my clients find those moments of joy, of light in their own lives that a lot of times they forget about, which they can continuously implement and integrate into their lifestyle to bring more fun, to bring more
Right.
happy, light energy into their day. Like, I mean, there's a lot of different tools and a lot of different techniques and practices and habits that you want to form along the way to get like culminate this entire feeling of like, yes, like I feel good and balanced and it's all about me. But like it starts with just doing what makes you feel good. And like a lot of people talk about self-care and what self-care, you know, that's like a big ass buzzword these days, all over social
Yeah.
media, especially like self-care this, self-care that. And a lot of people, even when they hear that, don't know what that means because you'll have like some laundry list of face mask, treat yourself to a dinner, like do this stuff. And they're reading this going, I don't know where to begin because none of that stuff might make sense to them, might not make sense to them. And so it's about forgetting about those lists, like not even paying attention to what self care might mean to somebody else, and ultimately just finding what makes you feel good. Like my own personal definition of self care is doing whatever the hell lights you up and increases your own vibration. We're all just an energy, we're all a vibration. And the more that you can just lift yourself up in that way, like you're going to be the happiest person ever. And it's not dependent on anybody else.
Dasha, what the hell lights you up? What makes you vibrate? What makes you feel good?
I first and foremost love yoga so much, but that's more of like, actually, I will say yoga is more of like a grounding process. It's really like my own inner relationship that I have, and I treat it as that. What lights me up the most is music and dance. Like,
Yes.
there's, oh my God, like I will multiple times throughout the day plug in my headphones, blast it, and just play my favorite music, or get up and just start dancing around my room for like 5, 10 minutes to middle of a work day or after a workout or like whatever it is, I'm dancing. Wherever I am dancing because that is what brings me the most joy.
So music is something that brings you joy. How do you promote someone to find that thing when there's all these lists that are out there of just the bath bombs and things like that? Like what are some questions that someone can ask themselves to find that thing?
So a lot of granted, I bring in like my practice with yoga and spirituality. I really believe in the power of visualization and meditation. And so when you do visualization work, you are essentially transporting yourself to a moment in time, whether it was in your past or your future, where you're experiencing something, right? And so I use visualization to help people bring themselves into those moments of pure emotion that makes them feel a certain type of way. So pulling that out of like your subconscious, right? And so
Yeah.
I help people, like, we'll create full lists, like have people really prioritize like what is it that lights you up in this world. You can brain dump at first. You can write it all on a piece of paper, like just get it all out. And from there start to weave it together, like what feels right for you, what feels what have you not done in a really long time. Creating those lists like really helps people remind themselves of what they've been missing. Maybe I had a client be like, "Oh my God, I love to draw and I completely forgot about it." Or like, really simple, like almost like child's play things. Because
Nice.
again, like that's going back to the basics. And I use visualization a lot of the time to help people bring those memories back to the forefront of their mind.
Well, Dasha, I feel like we're kind of coming up towards the tail end of our time. Is there anything that you want to tell the people? Any good words before we let you go?
What is your future good?
So, first, just to say for anybody like who is on their health journey trying to start something, give yourself grace. Like that's something in your healing, in your whatever goal that you have set, like give yourself grace along the way and as you move through things. It's something that I'm using like very dearly in my life right now. And a lot of clients are, this is work that I do with a lot of clients too, in terms of making sure that you're just showing up for yourself the way that you can and knowing that like where you are at is enough. I do one-on-one coaching with clients. I also lead a group coaching program twice a year. So that's coming up in the summertime. And I do corporate trainings as well. So working with companies and leading trainings on stress resilience and how to really like take hold of your stress throughout the workday and beyond to show up as the best version of yourself at work and in your own life.
Nice. And where can the people find you?
They can find me on Instagram, which is just Dasha Glozman, my website, which is just dashaglozman.com, but Instagram is the place where you can contact me. I love responding to my community and welcoming people in and just having it be a place of an experience around health and wellness and a conversation and I love talking about and giving tips and hacks and all these different concepts around health and wellness and what you can do starting like today.
All right. So let me just remember this. It's carb, it's protein. You want to get a fiber in there. And then what was the last thing?
Fat.
Fat. Okay.
Fat.
Carb, fiber, fat, protein. Yes.
Protein.
Okay. I got this set. I'm going to go try to figure out dinner now.
It sounds like a phone number you almost remember.
Story of my life.
Minus a few digits.
Yeah, yes. Exactly.
Minus a few digits. I mean, mine's probably like sugar. Yeah. And a whole lot of carbs. But no, we'll have to adjust there. Dasha, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you for coming on and hanging out with us. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. 3,
we
2, 1.
loved it.
Dasha Glozman! Oh my goodness. What an episode.
That was a great episode.
That was a great interview.
Just awesome to talk to and very informative and just very like clear and straightforward.
I was so happy to kind of hear from her some of the strategies and things that she uses to teach people to find their inner cheerleader, really.
Right.
Like, we're trying to find the way to build ourselves up in this world, something that we never really were taught. And I was sitting there during that interview just realizing, yeah, that's not something that you learn in school.
Amazing. Well, if you'd like to chat with Dasha or learn a little bit more about her holistic health coaching, head over to her website, dashaglozman.com, or you can check her out on Instagram at Dasha Glozman. She puts up a lot of really cool content there and chats with her community, gives a lot of great advice there too. So yeah, reach out to her. She's amazing. And in the meantime, Mike, what was the thing that you took away that like stood out to you the most when we were talking with her?
how unhealthy my breakfast is. And how one note my breakfast is. And literally ever since then, I look at my breakfast every day. I'm like, I need to add either the carb or the fiber or the fat or the protein. What is it? It can't just be a freaking Noosa yogurt. It needs to be a Noosa yogurt with an apple and maybe some grains and stuff, or an egg on the side. I don't know. Just make it more full. And I've been trying to add more stuff to my breakfast, and I find that I am more filled and I feel more energetic. Yeah. And then by the time lunch comes, I'm actually hungrier because my body's getting what it needs. It's like, oh, thank God, keep feeding me. And then I get more energy, and then I can go work out, and then I can keep doing things. It's like, it all starts from breakfast.
It does. So I'm not particularly a breakfast person, but it's something that I'm like beginning to start trying to do. Like I've been at least trying with a breakfast bar, at least something that like making sure that I'm reading the label and seeing that it has something in there. And wow, the difference of just having that additional energy on top of the caffeine. Because I think something that I realized about at least my relationship to caffeine is now suddenly I have a buffer in my stomach that's helping me process it, as opposed to like I'm awake but I can't think. And even like I don't drink too much coffee. I've gone back to tea right now. And even with tea, there's still like it's black tea in the morning.
It's acid. It's
it's still acidic. So it's great to know, at least like talking with her, like you're on the right track. Like you needed a few more things.
It's a work in progress. But Byron, what did you learn from our chat with Dasha Glozman?
I think something that I really loved about talking with her was about how her practice is really about breaking everything down simply. And I think a lot of the things that I took away were more to do with like, oh, what are the things that we end up like disconnecting from through like from childhood all the way to adolescence, that are like, oh, these are simple things that we already learned like from when we were kids. No wonder like we were having like breakfasts before we go, if we were lucky enough to have breakfast before we go to school. You know, it like if, you know, all these things that we're taught are good when we're kids, and all of a sudden we forget about them because we enter all of these, especially, you know, she's dealing with people who are overachievers and put a lot of pressure on themselves. Like you enter these complex systems and you overcomplicate your daily routines. So to hear like it really is just about like focusing your mind back on like how do you simplify this so that you have a baseline to come back to. It's one of those like, well, why didn't I know that before? But it's not anything like anybody should feel ashamed about like not knowing or even forgetting. And so I really loved how she was able to speak about it in a way that wasn't about like, well, of course it's about simplicity. It was about like, no, let's bring it back, because we can all do that and we're all capable of that.
Yes. At the end of the day, just revert back to the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And everything's good. So...
You mean keep it simple, superstar?
Keep it simple, you spectacular human being. Kiss you, baby. I don't know. Anywho,
keep it simple, spaceman.
Keep it simple, Superman. We can keep going. Keep it simple, Spider-Man.
Keep it simple, scabadabadi-beep-bop.
Keep it super secret agent. I don't know. Anywho, you guys should make sure that you like and you subscribe to the Feel Good Podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on any place that you can find your podcast needs. We are on video. You can watch the video of us chatting with Dasha on our YouTube channel. So please go give us a watch, give us a listen, hit the little bell, hit subscribe, get notified every time that this is happening. We are here for you. We're here to provide you some entertainment, and let us know what you thought of the episode, and let us know how you are helping out. Find us on Instagram, chat with us there. We're a bit of everywhere. We love you all.
Did
I miss anything?
No, I think that you're absolute perfection, and that's my only contribution to this outro. I need us say more. We're done here, people.
We're done.
We're gonna catch y'all on the flip. A flap, a flip, a flap, a flip, flip, flap, flip, a flap, a flip, flap, flip, flap, flip. Goodbye.
I've melted.
The Feel Good Podcast, hosted by Mike Osgood and Byron Filler. Find us on Instagram and TikTok at FillGoodPod, FillGoodPod.
You can also find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the flip-flop.